BDP3. New member, Chuck. First time on the show. And then we got 3 veterans of our three episode career here.
Chuck's only new to the pod.
Only the pod.
Yeah.
Only the pod.
What's going on here?
Oh, today was Halloween. We did a 3D shoot. And, I was Oktoberfest. I just am missing the Stein. We just learned the word, so that was a bummer. But we do have a mixed drink. It's just in a red cup, which is not on brand for the outfit. Brianna also matched, but she, as you can see, exited the outfit.
Yeah. Well, I broke the second button as well now, so I bent over again and broke the other button, so I just gave up on it altogether.
Where are these buttons?
She has them in the front.
Stay on, mine buttoned on, and they just
things were tight fitting.
bent over. Well, we had added extra slits in the back because it was a little too floppy and loose. Yes, slits is the word I use. Slits.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of a tradition now. It's our 3rd year in a row doing this Iron Turkey shoot, which is always on Halloween. So the first year I was Officer Dangle. She was a scarecrow. The second year I was an astronaut and she was Mario. And then this year we were these. Matt was going to be a pilot, but had to, couldn't quite make it in time.
How was the shoot?
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
none of us had done one in 6 months.
Yeah, small group, so it was quick.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 34 targets, and we got through it fast.
Yeah, I shot 31 10.
How many people there?
40 people maybe.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah. Let's not skim over that.
The
31 10s do that. Out of 34
You had 31 10s?
Yeah, out of 34. Yeah, that's crazy.
Nice.
Second half
Some of those
card
big
was
12s,
all
right?
10s.
Really?
I did 17 straight on the back half. Yeah. So, dude, it was crazy. Like, we started shooting, and I was just saying we hadn't done a shoot since Utah Tac, so it's been a while, and I honestly have not shot much lately, like at all.
Yeah, me too.
But went to it, and I always say that I think sometimes like a shooting reset, and I'd be curious your guys' thoughts on this. Sometimes that reset is so good because prior to my break, I felt like I was shooting a little bit better than my groups were, and I was just like, I feel like I'm shooting better but not getting great results. Had the bow shop run through the bow and then picked it up yesterday, 0 practice, and then today came out and probably shot my best ever. Just everything was like right in the 10 or the X.
Yeah, I think a break is good.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's mental. I think sometimes you just like maybe had enough. That's for me. Like I feel like I've had enough sometimes, and I'm just, I don't know. For some reason, I go through phases where I just put the bow in the case and zip it up, and I just leave it alone and move on to other stuff, and then I get the urge, the desire, and then I pull it out, and then I'm back into it, and I don't know. I think it's just a mental break.
You start chasing like the little things, like sometimes you just make too many adjustments, or you're just you're chasing an arrow that way, and you're trying to correct 5 things at once, and then you're just losing the basics behind it. Versus if you just put it away, and then your endurance will be less if you don't shoot it every day, But you go out and shoot 10 arrows, and you still remember how to do it, and you're more relaxed. You're less frustrated behind the bow. I think.
I see your point too.
Mental, like you said.
I see your point too about setting the bow down for in both of our case probably a month since Utah hunt, which we were both in the same area. We weren't really on it together, but it'd be fun to hear your perspective of what you saw. But I think that when you put the bow down and then pull it back out, like you said, you're really back to just like your main fundamentals. Draw, have a good grip, nose on the string, circle to circle. And when you've shot for 3 months straight, maybe you start thinking about little tiny shit too much.
Yeah. I always shoot better when I have a goal. So when I know bow season's coming, I get motivated, and then I'm out there and I'm focused and I'm shooting, I don't know. I never go crazy. I'll do like 5 or 6 ends, or maybe a little more. But I'm never like shooting over like 50 arrows at a shoot.
You start
or at
to
a time
deteriorate, and you're just getting frustrated. And it might not be. Now you're trying to fix something that's only due to fatigue that you're not going to be experiencing at your first shot per se.
Yeah, you'll experience like a different fatigue hunting. We've talked about that a bunch of times, but that's where the fitness is important, and especially where we were hunting up in Utah, very high elevation. So you were there about 6 days, and you brought Scott, a first-time hunter who's been on the show.
I didn't know. Was that his first hunt ever?
It was his second big game hunt. He went on a with one of the archery store. They went on a group hunt.
Oh, at like
and he went. They did a pig hunt. So he did a pig hunt once,
gotta
but it
do
was
that.
a long time ago. So he'd never hunted deer or elk. So
And then your other buddy came from Vermont.
Keith, yeah, he's my best friend from Vermont, and he's a lifelong hunter just like myself, but he'd never elk hunted, and I've been telling him, come out, come
Way different.
Yeah,
Way
and we've been putting in for some rifle tags together, and we hadn't been getting drawn. So with the over-the-counter thing, I said, hey, we didn't get drawn again. Why don't you just jump in with both feet and come out here?
Yeah.
So I said, look, you can do it two ways. You can fly to Salt Lake City and I'll pick you up in Salt Lake and I'll take you to the woods, or if you want the whole experience with the road trip,
Yeah.
fly to San Diego and jump in, and he said, no, I'd rather do that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That's a pull too. That is a long drive.
Yeah.
I swear it's not as long as the Book Cliffs though. When we drove to the Book Cliffs, I swear it was like a meme because we had a caravan of three different vehicles, maybe four different vehicles. So we had 3 trucks and Nick's Volt. And I swear it felt like I would check the GPS and it would say, 8 hours to go. Then it seemed like we drove a whole day. I'd check it and it's like 7 to go. And then it got to 4.5, and I swear, like 5 checks in a row, it kept saying 4.5. And I'm like, Taylor, I feel like you're driving in circles. Like, we are going nowhere.
The
That
scenery
drive,
just stops changing. You know?
there's
It's
no
like,
change. That was
it's like a treadmill.
first.
You're just sitting there.
One year we went to, me, my buddy Ben, and my buddy Dennis, those are like my 2 main hunting buddies. We planned a trip to Laramie, Wyoming with an antelope tag. I had an antelope tag, but they were coming with, so we stayed at a KOA. And then from there we were going on a guided elk hunt in Montana. And we got up at 3. He lives in Temecula, so I picked him up at his house around 4. We drove straight from San Diego to Laramie, Wyoming in the same day. We were absolutely delirious.
Oh, I bet.
It's nuts.
And then at 80, Interstate 80, there was construction, so we'd be going 80 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour, 80 miles.
man.
But we made it. We were watching videos on YouTube.
Bowdisciples,
Will Ferrell
of
stuff.
course. Only Bowdisciples, yes.
Yeah. But my God,
Exclusive.
that was a crazy drive. All the way from San Diego to Laramie in one day.
Jeez.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Can be done.
Yeah, I
It
can.
makes Salt Lake City a lot closer.
I much prefer having Nick's house in St. George as
As
a
a break.
checkpoint.
Yeah, see, I didn't
It's so
stop
nice.
Yeah.
on the way there though. I did a similar drive.
Yeah, you did it all the way.
I won't say where, but yeah, it was 14 miles.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
You did it
to
in
the
one
first
pull.
stop.
I drove when
I
I
left at 3 a.m. too.
When I went to get my camper from Montana, I left home, went to Zion, did a quick little hike, and then drove to Salt Lake, stayed the night, and then drove all the way to Bozeman the next day, stopping through like Glacier and Yellowstone.
Yeah, that's how
It was a real mission.
Yeah, we went from Laramie, killed an antelope, and then got on the road the next day, drove through Sheridan, Wyoming, and then all the way across Montana to Hamilton, because that's where we were hunting in the Bitterroot. So, but this hunt in Utah, we
How was it with the 2 first timers? Is what I was going to ask.
it was great.
Yeah.
You know, it was fun because it wasn't just about like I'm a meat hunter, so I was very determined to just get meat, which I didn't end up getting meat. So my elk meat now is like you're down to your shoulder to
Yeah.
reach the last of it, but that was disappointing. But the whole experience of the road trip and setting up, we got the camp spot we like, so I've got a good pop-up camper, so awesome camping. Very first morning, got out, did an easy hunt, and then just to kind of get them acclimated to the elevation and stuff, and that was like a gentle one. But then in the afternoon, I was like, okay, well, I want to be up there,
Yeah.
so this afternoon's going to be
It's all steep, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so
That side's not as steep. Well, depending where you
well,
were.
right from that camp where
Yeah.
that gravel pit is, there's a steep north-facing slope right there. That's
Yeah.
about, I've done it twice now. It's at least an hour and a half hike to
Dang.
get up there,
Yeah.
and then from there it kind of plateaus out, and it's amazing territory. But it was good. It was fun. We saw an elk the second morning. Walking into a spot where we had bumped a 5x5 out of a wallow one time. So this time, I tippy-toe in there and I glass a lot before I get into that area because I've already bumped an elk out of there. So we, took our time, got in there, and then, okay, cool, it's all clear. I didn't even think to scan the woods past the wallow. And then as soon as we kind of got up to the meadow, boom, a cow busted, and we got a glimpse over here, and then we watched her run away. So they were excited that, okay, cool, we're in the
saw
elk.
one.
It's encouraging.
Yeah.
Just to
Release
see
on
one.
early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially on such a
So,
tough hunt,
That
you
was
know?
like
Yeah.
that one we walked out into. What do you call them?
The peninsula?
No. What do you call the area, the grassy areas?
Oh, parks?
Parks. He calls
Yeah,
them
parks.
parks.
That's what it's called.
Is that a real thing?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. they call
I
them
just
parks.
thought that was one of James's weird
No.
names.
It's
That's
called
how
a
they
park.
refer to
Okay.
them.
Well,
Yeah.
we walked into a park and kind of stopped on the edge and looked around. So we were like, okay, we could, we did some elk calls there. Just didn't think to kind of scan through the woods. Means their
Exactly.
parks are pretty big, so
Yeah.
you could technically glass across
Yeah.
and into the first 20, 30 yards of wooded area.
Yeah.
And we called, and then you kind of saw that flash of what you thought was a deer, and then boom, you heard the second movement or something.
Yeah, that was real weird. Yeah, I blew it. Yeah.
Right there on the edge of the trees, essentially, and there's an elk.
I see. It was so bizarre because I call and I was standing there,
We were not
and
being quiet.
all of a sudden I see something move in the timber, and I was like, I think that was a deer. Like it looked like a buck,
Uh-huh.
and it was like over here, and then I can't remember if I moved or maybe took a few steps towards it, and then from 20 yards behind where I had seen that, a freight train of a bull ran out of there. So I was like, I'm pretty sure I saw a deer, and then right after a elk, but
Yeah,
I couldn't tell for sure unless he did a U-turn. It almost had to be,
Yeah.
and he was bedded right there,
Yeah.
and you could just see because the ground was wet, so he was making huge prints. And
Yeah,
falling
I'd
ways,
say
but
the
the wind
track
was
confirmed
terrible.
elk afterwards.
Yeah.
At least one that we could find, running for a while. It's
Yeah.
crazy how long you can follow there. We did that a couple times because we spooked that one, and then we spooked the one that we followed the tracks for I don't even know how long that felt like before we ended up going up to that raghorn.
Oh.
We followed those tracks, so they run for forever, it seems.
Yeah, well, you got to think they're the size of a horse, so they can cover so much ground.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Their pace or their
their
stride.
if you will.
But it's weird because you'd be following running tracks, and then all of a sudden you would find what was very evidently very fresh shit from that one. He just stopped,
Oh, yeah.
took a shit, and then you'd see his tracks walking again.
That's gotta be
And
nice.
it's oh,
You
nice
know?
for him.
Just anywhere you're at.
Dropping off some weight,
Yeah.
just mid run.
Are you scared of Chuck?
Scared of Chuck?
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
the way I'm
all-
sitting-
You couldn't be
look like-
any further away
you
from
look
Chuck
like-
right
This is
now.
the way I sit every
You like-
time we pod, though. I put my pillow here so my coffee doesn't drip water all over me.
All right.
I'm very cozy. I put my fancy socks on for every pod. Today it's cuts of meat today.
Where's the
Cuts of
legend
meat.
though? I need what
That
I need
is
a
my
list
question.
of what
I thought there
what
would
they
be a
are.
legend on the bottom or something,
like
but
one through
there's
whatever.
not. So I don't
One
know
is
what
a
a
chuck
five
roast.
is.
Yeah, that's
but,
what I need.
Yeah.
5s is maybe a rump roast.
One more little dig on Brianna. You're missing
maybe.
a few arrows in your quiver over there.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
where'd
am.
those go?
Oh, she got her first Robin Hood the other
saw
day.
that.
See
Well, so
that?
that's where two
It's-
of them went. That's
Yeah.
Oh,
we'll
that's
start with the positive,
okay.
and then one went to
You lost
the steel
both of them?
turkey
You
today.
couldn't even save the.
Well,
Oh,
we
so
didn't
we're gonna
wanna
hang
pull
it
them
up in here.
apart.
It's her first
Oh,
one,
yeah.
so we're gonna hang it up.
It was
But
like a perfect one.
your first Robin Hood you have to keep.
Yeah.
After that, you don't keep them.
It's unfortunate because James had just
Yeah,
went
after
and
that
picked those
you
arrows
just
up.
kind of pissed.
They're
Yeah.
expensive. Yeah, the first one's fun. After that, they're expensive. But so
Usually
she
you can
did.
pull the second one out.
Yeah.
Of the first one.
You
But
kind of have to cut them.
the last
sometimes.
one I did, I lost 2 at once.
Well,
Yeah,
see,
I
with
think
your
my one is
arrows,
safe, but-
can you even do a true Robin Hood
Yeah,
with yours?
Yeah, with a slim, shaft shape.
Like you can actually still bury an arrow.
Oh, yeah.
It's even more impressive, I
I'm
guess.
That's
very-
way more
yeah, that would be
impressive.
more
Shoot
impressive
needles
with
like
those.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've done it with standard diameter arrows and just pull the second arrow out, and it's still shootable.
Yeah.
But on those, I couldn't get the second arrow out.
I feel like for me personally, that is a downside of shooting the micro diameters that I've noticed just at shoots and stuff. To me, they do not seem nearly as strong as the gold tipped standards.
See, I think the opposite.
You think they're stronger?
Yeah, like today
Really?
I hit the steel today,
Yeah.
and it just, if it wasn't for the insert getting mashed backward,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
look
that's
at that's
true.
a prime
That's
thing.
why I
Look at his and
switched.
look at mine. Mine's split right in half,
Yeah.
shattered.
Good point.
I switched because I shot an elk, my first elk with a bow. Maybe it's my only bow elk. I don't even know, but 25 yards out of a ground blind, and it was perfectly broadside. And I waited. Its back, its near side front leg was back, as it was down feeding. I even waited until it stepped forward and
Opened it up a little bit.
I was like, I was at full draw. Come on. And as soon as she stepped forward, and it was, so now both of her front legs are even. It looked like one leg. So I know she's exactly broadside. And when I shot that elk, I had a lighted knock, so I knew I hit it. I thought it was perfect. But when I shot her, she took off running. My arrow hit. She slammed into a tree and kept going, but my arrow flew out of it. So anyway, I knew I smoked her. I knew 100%. It was right at last light, so I picked up my stuff and left. When we found that elk, the arrow went into her, and it actually penetrated an exit hole, but the arrow stayed in it. So she had a hole there. It was a G5 Montec 3, fixed blade.
Yeah, fixed blade.
So I think my arrow hit a rib and kind of turned, and because I know she was broadside, so my arrow was going perpendicular, but I had an exit hole back towards her hip. But then as she ran, she hit the tree. It yanked the arrow back out, and you saw the arrow kind of tumble in the air. But so I thought after that experience, I was like, if I had a heavier or more durable arrow shaft, maybe it would have not deflected. So that was the motivator for me to
heavier, probably.
go to what I thought was a higher quality, better arrow.
Yeah.
And
interesting. Yeah.
I don't know. I thought maybe if I hit a rib in the future, it wouldn't deflect like that. But I'm sure there's probably a dozen factors that go into that. But still, that's why I switched. It wasn't really anything else.
It wasn't so you could squeak in the 12 ring.
No, that's worse.
Bigger arrows.
No, yeah,
You
they
actually
go for
want
the
the
you
big
don't
old
get
for
to
target
kiss,
shooting.
you're not
To
cutting
push.
lines.
So think about it. Yeah. If you have if you go watch target tournaments, those dudes are all
Those things
shooting
like the size of
telephone
my
poles.
thumb. They're
Yeah.
ginormous.
Big
See,
basketball.
I've had my
To block
best
out?
scores.
No, to cut
Or
lines.
just
With
to
those
cut.
big ones?
Because if you think about it,
yeah.
with Chuck's
with the little
micro
ones?
diameter, you got to hit like very, very close to the line.
You're
You
not
cut it, but
getting
with
it.
a
They're like
log.
the width of the
points
line.
or whatever.
You're
The
getting-
difference between an 8 and a 10 or 5 and 8. You're
Yeah.
not getting the love.
Oh,
But I've
sure,
shot my
sure.
best tournaments. My best tournament scores with the slim arrows.
With the slims, okay.
Yeah, I did switch back this year to a normal diameter on the bow I used for the police and fire tournament.
Yeah, the one we got.
And I looked at this. I did get some. I had probably.
Oh, police and fire. Never mind.
Well, no, on the one that we shot.
That one we
state
got
championship.
disqualified
Yeah.
from 2
Oh,
times.
But I did have.
we
I
gotta
had
talk
about
about that.
in a 28 arrow. What was that? 40. I probably
42.
had.
2 arrows.
I'll
per.
bet you I had 4 targets where I cut lines that I might not have cut lines with the slim ones.
See, I would think you could maybe
That's a
like.
lot of points.
I would think you could maybe like
But for hunting,
squeak in
Yeah.
a gap and not get deflected out. But I guess the arrow tip isn't any smaller, so it might not make a difference.
Yeah, the head's the same
So
size.
that doesn't make a difference.
the insert's slightly larger than the diameter.
Than the arrow, right?
So that's the only bummer with the slim arrows for me, in my case, is that what I've learned is that when I shoot like foam target practice, whether it's like a Glendale insert target buck or that red dice target that I really like, any of those
Oh, I
targets
like
that you
those
can
too.
shoot broadheads on, with a standard diameter arrow, because the insert and the tip is the same diameter as the actual arrow, you're not doing a lot of damage to your target. But with my slim arrows, with the thicker insert, it blows them up.
He does. Your arrows do suck to pull.
Yeah.
Well,
'Cause here's what happens
because they have that
usually.
mushroom tip.
Well,
Yeah.
so here's what happens. Usually, Chuck's our designated score guy.
Yeah, he
Most
is.
of the
He
time.
was today.
You know,
Yeah.
By age and seniority.
Bree's a lady, so we don't make her hike and pull. Jake, sometimes you get lazy. I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes you just get lazy.
Today I pulled all the
Yeah,
arrows.
And I'm always pulling.
Yeah.
Ted's always looking.
Well, I'm the film guy.
Is this a
You know?
confession?
But you don't even have the camera.
Yeah.
What?
Sometimes you don't even have the camera.
Well,
Yeah, half the time you leave the camera behind and I have to pick it up and
Yeah.
keep going with it.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's
Well,
doing.
just
A lot
for
of
the record, I
drawback.
feel lazy because I'm.
No, but you're organized
I
and you don't
appreciate you
lose the
guys.
cards
Yeah.
and.
Today he was not his best
I
on
was
the
off
score.
my game.
I think he was off 3 or
It's been a
4
while
times.
for
I get
Oh,
up.
wow.
I get up at 4:20 or 4:30
Yeah.
for a structure.
Yeah, yeah,
fight.
structure
Yeah,
fight.
so,
That's not.
Yeah.
That's not good.
That reminds
Usually
me.
yeah.
You're better than
So I'm
that.
a little.
Yeah.
I'm a little out of sorts. I was off.
I'll tell you
I
what.
was, I was actually a shit show.
Yeah, it was.
There was a
Yeah.
questionable time where we
Yeah.
weren't sure what was happening.
When in doubt, 10 out.
3 or 4 times we were on like target 30, and he'd be like, we should be
I
at 31,
think
and I'm like,
yeah.
no, that was there, you know.
Yeah. It's impossible with 30 targets too to go back and go, oh, this is
Yeah.
the one I missed.
Yeah, it's too many.
You gotta catch it quick.
Luckily at Balboa, it's like usually the layout's pretty similar, so you can kind of go through it.
Yeah, we're
But
familiar.
good course today. It was a little crammed at the end, but 34 targets. They don't really have a choice. I thought it was really fun. Some tough shots. The bucktoes were tough. It's funny. Like some days when you're on shooting, it's just different. Like I felt like I made one bad shot that I felt I did not break super good. It was still a 10.
Yeah.
But it was the one that I was like, that shot was not great. And it was like that far right, but still lined.
Did you make it through the steel?
Yeah.
Nice.
Grooved it like right up the middle. Both them blew up a joint though.
Yeah, that happens.
And I wasn't going to do it.
No.
I was like, yeah,
You
it's a
got
chip
it.
shot,
You-
20, I'm doing it.
It
Ding!
is pretty big. It's but why is that? Because you know on your Morel dice target, if you took it in the yard,
Just
you could
put
hit
the
one of those
one,
white every
I
time.
will hit
It's
the
like
one.
hitting
Every
it's
time.
like hitting a
Yeah.
tee shot on a par 3 over a pond.
Oh, for sure.
It's going in the
Right.
pond.
Yeah.
You're gonna hit your worst shot ever and skull it right into the pond.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I take a hockey puck on my buck target.
Yeah.
I take a hockey puck and I trace the hockey puck with a marker, and that's what I count as my 10 ring.
Right.
And I get consistent on that, but you throw some iron on there, and
For some reason, you freak
I
out.
hate
Or a tree just to the right, and somehow you're
You're just looking at things that you're. Yeah. I mean, you know.
Hey, dude, let's
Pay
go back
attention.
to the Utah thing, because you asked me
Yeah.
what it was like with two hunters that had never elk hunted before.
Yeah, yeah.
And for the first time ever when I hunted, I actually felt like a guide,
Oh yeah.
but not like in a good way, like in a this is difficult, challenging way.
Like the pressure's
Because
on you to deliver.
the guys were, a funny part of that was, I told my buddy Keith, I said, hey, he's like, what do I need for? I said, well, nothing, just, camel, bow and arrow, whatever. And he actually borrowed one of my bows so when he got here. But anyway, I said, the only real thing you need to get, I got you all set up, but get a cow call and start practicing cow calls. And he goes, okay. Somehow he heard get an elk call. So he bought a Primo's bugle tube. It was the kind with the rubber diaphragm at the tip, so
Ah.
you don't need an elk call.
I
You
like
can
that
just-
one. Mhm.
And I said,
Those
hey,
ones
how's
are
your
fun, right?
practicing and whatever, but on the way up there, and Scott too, I told him, hey, get like a Primo's Hoochie Mama or something like that, just something easy that you can
Yes.
use, that you don't have to use a diaphragm, because a lot of guys don't, it takes some time to get good with a diaphragm.
For sure.
So that's what made the ride up to Utah fun, because
That's how you were
I bought them
listening to?
both diaphragms, and I was like, here,
How
let's
have the
practice
windows
this.
rolled
Yeah.
down?
So, once you're good at those, it seems like it'd be easy for anybody to do, but that made the ride up fun. But anyway, when we were hunting, it was challenging because, with the other guys that I go hunting with, we do, cow parties. So we'll split up a little, 10, 15, 20 yards apart, and we'll all do multiple cow calls at a time, just to act like we're a group of cows, and then, stand by for a while and wait for a response, and then move to another location and do a little cow party again. But with those guys, they didn't want to use the diaphragm calls and stuff, and Keith only had his bugle tube, so which he actually did get pretty good with. But
You get any responses?
I got one. He didn't, because he didn't bugle out in the woods. At camp, he's like, man, I was driving my wife crazy with that elk call. I'm like, I bet you were, dude. I was like, I'm dying to know, what were you doing? Like, show me what you were doing. And he busted out the bugle call and he ripped one off, and I'm like, we were all at camp. There's 4 of us in camp with him. I mean, I was like, dude, that's not that bad,
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
heard
mine
worse.
wasn't too bad at the
So-
camp until I did it in the woods.
Yeah.
Then it was.
Pressure got to you.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Sounded
yeah.
like one of those old weenie whistles. That's what it
It
sounded
was
like.
horrendous.
Yeah.
The elk started to call and then got hit by a car.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Well, what's funny is on the last evening when we were hunting was the only time we even came close to an opportunity. We had an encounter with a really nice cow, a huge cow elk. But after that fizzled out. She spotted us and got spooked and took off. But a little while later, when the sun was getting low, I said, you know what? It's like, fourth quarter, we're down by 7. We're going for it. So I just ripped off a bugle and I got a response.
No shit.
And the response I got sounded like maybe that elk's first bugle.
Oh, yeah.
Had to warm it up a
sounded
little
like
bit.
weird. And so I answered back. I hit him again, and this time he bugled a little better, but he was closing the distance. And then I kept playing them. So I got to work that bull, and I got Keith set up right on the edge of a park, a little meadow, about 20, 30 yards wide. And then I had Mackie downwind, because the last time I had a bull encounter, when he came in, he went downwind of us, and that's what busted us. He picked up our wind. But so I felt like a guide. I had my shooters lined out.
Yeah.
I was running through the woods to change location, and I was raking. I was raking a tree, but I think I was maybe being too aggressive. But he did come in a little ways. We never got a glimpse of him, and he was up a ways. It's probably like a 50 to 60 foot embankment that he would have been up on top of. But he played with me for a little while, but at the end he did something that I'd never heard before. He did it sounded like a growl.
Oh yeah.
I never heard a bull growl.
Oh my god, it scared the living shit out of me.
Oh no, that was a bark, not a growl.
Oh, what's the difference in these?
The bark scared her, but the growls, I have heard them once or
It's
twice.
the first time I ever heard a bull growl.
Yeah.
Majestic unicorn-looking animal, and then they make these sounds that sound like rabid wolves. That sounds like a cute puppy compared to the sound of that thing.
Yeah, I've heard him bark.
I don't know how to do it. I've heard it.
Keep trying.
Yeah.
I've heard
It
cows
sounds like
bark.
the devil's song.
It's kind of like that.
Because I'm curious.
Yeah, no, it's the barks are crazy. And every time one would light up on a bark, she would like flinch.
Oh my god, it sounds
Yeah.
absolutely not an exaggeration. It sounds evil. It sounds like an evil
Yeah.
devil-like animal.
I'd never heard it. So yeah, the whole experience to me, I felt like I was a guide, but like I say, not in a good way, only because I felt like a responsibility to
It's tough.
work hard and try to find elk and get us on elk, and then doing the calling and not getting lost, and then introducing to Onyx maps, and then also with Scott being young and a new hunter, and Keith and I we're both over 50 and we've been hunting our whole life, so we were really trying to make sure he wasn't glued to the app. Like, at times we were navigating and he was using the app, and we're trying to say, like, hey Scotty, make sure you look at the lay of the land, look at the skyline, look at natural markers so if your phone dies,
You can reference some
you
mental
got
notes.
to learn the old school too. So make sure you're not just glued onto the app, and I think that's like the generational difference between a guy that's 25 and a guy that's 50.
The paper map.
And hunting,
We learned to hunt without any kind of device.
For sure.
You had to learn to look at ponds, look at familiar trees, something crazy, landmarks,
And
read the skyline, read the sunset, to know what time it is and how much time you get left.
And timber's the toughest. It's
Yeah.
the easiest place to get lost.
Yeah.
I've been lost hunting really only once, but it was bad. It was a bad situation, and that was in deep timber, heavy timber, and that was grizzly country as well, which can get us into your story. But when I got lost that day, it was in Montana back in the day when they had over-the-counter elk. I don't think they do anymore. But it was really, really tough, and we were hiking so deep in the mornings and then staying out all day because we got kind of hosed. Like, we didn't have our camper. We were supposed to stay with a family member and hunt like property behind their house. That didn't work out, so then we're like, well, we're already all the way here, so we just stayed at a hotel that was close to public land that we could hunt, but that was a 2-hour drive. So every morning we wake up at 2, drive 2 hours, hike, and
I would have bought myself a tent at Walmart.
and then we would get back at
Too early.
8 p.m.
That's a wake up.
and drive 2 hours. So we get back at 10, get up at 2. We did this for like 2 weeks straight, and by the last time we were like so fatigued, so beat. I think I dropped like 25 pounds, busting ass. And this one day my dad and I leave separate, and
Where was this?
Montana. So we're up in this, it's all snowy, by the way. So we're up in the snow, and I think I heard a bull bugle or something, and he shot down this like super steep drainage and then like buried down like way deep in this canyon. So it was a dusk, and I followed him down there, and now I'm buried in this dark canyon. And I'm like, in my head, I was like, if I just walk this canyon, I'll eventually reach the road. And I just kept going and going. It's getting darker and darker and darker. And now it's like, sure. So I fire up my Garmin GPS. This was like before Onyx.
Old school.
Fire up the Garmin, and I was like, and it said no signal. I was too low in this ditch.
Down deep.
So I'm like trying to finally, it comes up and I'm hoping the arrow's like this way, and it's like truck's 2-7 that way behind me, right? So I had to scale out of this, and it's dark now, and I didn't think I got back to the truck till like 11 or 12, at night. And then I'm freaking out that there's no cell coverage anywhere. And I'm thinking I'm gonna get back to the truck. My dad's gonna be freaking out that I'm buried out here.
Is he napping in the truck?
No, I get back and he's not back yet.
Ooh. Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, oh God, like his worst possible scenario, So I wait another half hour. I start driving the roads. Finally, I find him. He was walking. He got lost too. So both of us got lost in the same day. And then after that, that was when we were. I never take off days hunting, but that was when we were like, okay. We were so beat down from the sleep schedule and the work that we actually took the next morning off and just slept.
Yeah, good. I think you have to sometimes. I did that. I wrecked my feet one time on a hunt, and I told the guy I'm going to stick around camp, because we had a cowboy coming in. We were on a drop camp. We had a cowboy coming in to pick up some deer meat because we'd killed some deer, and they're like, well, who's going to hang around camp? And I said, dude, I wore the wrong boots on this hunt. I wore like tree stand type boots, not rubbers, but I wore some tree stand style boots.
Yeah, can't be wearing the rubbers.
I said, I said, I'll say. Yeah. But sometimes you got to do that. Be ready. Yeah.
I did that this hunt, and then I got locked in the trailer.
Oh yeah, she did.
You got locked in the trailer?
Yeah, we had, our lock had started having a problem.
No, it's not a problem. There's just two locks. One locks the handle, one locks like the overall door.
Right.
And for whatever reason, I don't know if it slipped their brain, like, I guess they normally lock whichever one, and Ted started locking the other one. And so you cannot...
There's no inside...
No, even from the inside you can't undo it. It's like key only.
From the outside.
That's why I like my truck with the keypad.
Yeah.
That is nice
And,
actually.
Tell my
I don't know why
friends,
more
this is the
companies
number.
don't do that.
And then I stash a spare set in my truck.
Well, so
somewhere.
that's how we knew it wouldn't work, because we had tried it, and Ted had took off with the keys that when we first got in there to go get his truck fixed, and he had them, so we used the spare one. We unhooked the pop-out bed area of Ted's, and I climbed through the hole, went in. You cannot unlock it from the inside. So I knew once I got stuck, I was like, I can't, even if I climbed out Ted's thing and climbed back in, I can't unlock it for them. So I sat in there for about a half hour, like, well, I guess I was going to go out in the morning.
Don't do it.
Thief.
Let's go.
This guy's such a moose.
And, the worst.
He is.
The worst. I'm the worst.
I love him.
Yeah.
He will not buy his own, and he says he doesn't need them, but yet he'll steal
I actually
from
just
everybody
did.
and their mother.
No, I actually just did.
Buy your own?
Yeah, Paul, on with that sale, the super sale I did, yeah. So
Only because it was
hold
a
on.
super sale.
He says he bought them.
He hasn't paid.
He
ordered it.
Okay. He told Paul to order him some. That does not mean he
That's like
ordered
when I
them.
was in the
Seen
Navy, I
this
told
before.
these I quit chewing tobacco, and I had a chief that I love my chief. And every time I saw him, I was like, hey chief, can I get a little liquor?
yeah,
He's like, I thought you quit. And I'm like, I did. He goes, no, you just quit buying it.
Yeah,
There's a
exactly.
difference.
Yeah. Hey, it's still progress. It's progress.
Yeah. But yeah, so I got stuck inside for about 30 minutes and was like, well, I guess I was going to walk out to the tree stand just late. And I was like, oh, I'll just go glass. And then I was like, now I'm just stuck. And then it like dawned in my brain, like, I'm an idiot. Ted just told me about this when we got here. Windows. It's not that far of a jump, so I undid the little like living room table
Emergency,
window.
yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and jumped out the
jumped
window
out.
and drove down and glassed for a while. But
You talk about getting lost in the woods or whatever. Like, I grew up in New England. I grew up in Vermont, and so there for me, I hunted my whole life, so I've been lost in the woods multiple times. And in Vermont, it's sort of easy. The way I always looked at it was, if I got lost, I'd go downhill until I found a brook, and then I would follow a brook, because a brook will take you to a road or will take you to a river. And a lot of the roads, the dirt roads, back roads in Vermont, they follow the same contour as rivers. So I always had that in my back pocket. You get
That's a
lost
good
going
idea.
downhill, find a brook, follow the brook. But in the West, and that's why I love the Rockies, they're just a different story. You talk about when you're, I'm in this canyon or this ravine, I'm just going to follow it. it's quick and easy to get off of the wrong ravine. Just a knoll takes you.
Absolutely.
Now you're not even going in the same direction.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
It's a big, different ball game.
And it's like the stakes are higher too because the country's so big.
So
and
big.
there's
I got lost
so
in
many
Montana
predators too.
on that guided hunt
Mhm.
because the guide was bugling across a canyon, and we got a bull talking to us across the canyon, and I thought on the guided hunt was like, okay, cool, we got a bull, here we go, let's go, like shooter caller. But I don't know if he was tired or what, but he was like, all right, Chuck, I'm gonna stay here and keep him talking. You go get him. Okay, then. You're the guy.
Off the
I'll do it.
leash.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Always do what your guide tells you to do. So I said, okay, I'm gone. I took off, and man, he got quiet. I started to side hill. I got into some timber that looked like, I don't know. I started to get that eerie grizzly bear feel, and I just kept going. I thought that the road was, but anyway, I got way off course, and I wound up coming out I found the road, but I found the road a mile off of where I thought the road was. I broke myself off, and then I probably had to walk at least a couple of miles back to the trucks, and shit, I was only 1,000 yards from where my guy.
Crazy, yeah. Well, yeah, like you said, those, if you're on a finger, that's a long ways from this one.
Took forever.
Yeah.
So let's like I said, I hunted grizzly country once. We what?
Sorry. I just keep eyeballing this hat you're wearing, and I just see Matt's eyes just keep glancing back over
I
you.
just
and
glance
like,
every time he like.
Yeah.
I mean, you must have adjusted that.
Well,
and
it's
like,
tight.
It's like your bra strap is
It's
falling
snug.
off.
It's not the most. I mean, I got this at the
Why
Halloween
people
store.
don't wear that anymore.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But it looks
At
fashionable.
least it's not a skirt, because that camera would be.
Straight up the pipe,
Yeah. So Chuck, you have been around grizzlies before.
I have. I got into a grizzly last year for the first time.
Not hunting it, right?
No, I was on a deer hunt in
On
Montana.
accident.
Yeah. And what's funny is I told my hunting buddies I'll never hunt grizzly country. And my buddy Dennis laughed, and I'm like, what's funny? He goes, dude, the time we went to Montana, you were in grizzly country.
Just
I'm
didn't know it.
I go, really? There's grizzly? He's like, yeah, there's grizzlies there.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit. And I'm just lugging a bow and arrow.
Mhm.
But yeah, last year we went to, it's called Dutton. It's a town called Dutton. It's about an hour probably from Great Falls, Montana.
Okay.
We went up there. My buddy Ben hooked it up. It was a dude that he met on like a duck hunt trip or something like that. The guy offered, hey, you can come stay at my place and get pheasant property. But he says, yeah, there's a ton of deer up there. It's a beautiful cottonwood river bottom, tons of deer. Nobody ever comes up there to deer hunt, so you guys ought to come up. So we agreed, that, hey, we'll pay the guy to stay at his place or whatever and hunt that land. So yeah, we went up there for a rifle hunt last November. And the way it started off was we drove up there on like Sunday morning for a Monday morning opener. And on Sunday we went to the neighbor's ranch. We met this neighbor that Ben's great. He always becomes best friends with people. So the neighbor, he met him. Guy was great. He said, yeah, I got some coulees behind my property. You should come hunt these coulees. There's deer in there all the time. You guys are welcome to it. So like, oh, sweet. So then we went to the house of the guy that we were staying with. And he was like, hey, I got to get going, but let me give you like the lowdown on the place. And so he goes, hey, if you're going to use the dryer, make sure you take, I clogged my dryer vents, so make sure you unplug them. If you got to use the head or the bathroom down in the basement, I probably wouldn't, use that one. It doesn't flush so good. And oh yeah, there's been a grizzly bear trying to get in my wheat silos up here. So just, it's a small one, but he probably still ruin your day. So anyway, I'm out of here. Bye. They're like, all right, see ya.
What a
We're
list.
like, did he say? I heard the dryer and the shitter, but did he say grizzly bear?
Yeah.
Because this area of Montana is like it's like the winter wheat capital of the U.S. It's all wheat fields. When I think grizzly, I think of Hamilton. I think of the Bitterroot. I think of dark timber, and that's why, that's what I think. I didn't think grizzly bear wheat
Flat
field
wheat
didn't make
field.
any
Yeah,
sense
that's
to me.
different.
So, yeah, so anyway, the first morning, the guys were like, okay, where are you going to go? We all had our own trucks, so we're all going to split up and hunt, which was probably stupid because the dude just mentioned grizzly bears, but it was kind of so nonchalant that we didn't really track it. And so I said, well, I'm going to go hunt the neighbors and those coulees he was talking about. So get up in the morning, at dark, of course. We're hunting whitetail and mule deer. So I get up, I take off, I drive about 15 minutes to get to this guy's ranch. I go through a couple of horse gates, and then I get out into these coulees, and it was 10 degrees, whipping sleet, sideways snowstorm. And I'm from Vermont, so I've been there. So anyway, I get into the coulee and I just sit down on the leeward side of this little hill. I'm a little bit protected from the wind, so I'm sitting, but it's cold. And I just sit in the snow, and I get all set up, and I sit and I start glassing. I'm not glassing 10 minutes. And I see the second hill over, I see a big rack buck feeding on the hillside. I'm like, holy crap, it's already happening. So I pack up my stuff, I go down into this deep coulee, come up to the top, and I'm creeping up over the top of this coulee because I'm figuring it's going to be right there. Now when I break the top of this hillside, I see that buck had bedded, and now he's bedded towards me. And I range him, I think he's around 260 or something like that, 260 yards away. So I got a bipod on my rifle, so I get set up for like a sitting shot, and it's cold, and I'm
A little shivery?
yeah, my hands were hurting, but everything else was cool. So I'm waiting for him because I'm not going to shoot him bedded towards me. He's like quartering to me bedded, so I'm like, I'm just going to wait for him. So I'm just going to sit here and wait. So I just happen to look down in the coulee, and I see another buck. Well, I see a doe on her feet in like these tall grass, but it's all white, snow covered, but there's tall grass down there. I see a doe, and then I see a big buck bedded right next to her, about 10 feet from her. But he's broke off on one side. And I'm not a horn hunter, but I did want to have a nice rack buck. So I'm looking at him, I decide I probably won't shoot him, I'll still wait for this bigger buck. And then I look to my right and I see another buck just bouncing up through the coulee.
Sounds
like,
like a
holy
lovely
crap.
place.
Yeah, well, it's a good spot.
Yeah, I'm not there 30 minutes and I already got 3 shooter bucks. But anyway, this guy's bouncing up, and he's a younger buck, but he's got a decent rack on him. He's the biggest buck I've killed. But I'm a meat hunter, so I judge him on how delicious
That
he
body.
looks. So
Yeah,
he's
how big
younger,
that boy.
tight, flat
tasty.
belly, but he's cruising up through, and I just move my whole rifle over to him. I said he'll work just fine, and so I watch him. I can't remember if he was like 200 yards, I think, and but he ended up stopping right in the middle of a snowy area with no grass around him, so it was just a perfect shot opportunity, and pow, I popped him with my 308, and he ran about 20 yards and flopped in the snow. So I'm like, holy, first morning, opening morning, and now in the back of my mind, I know I've got to drive all the way back to San Diego. So I like to tag out early, get my meat to the meat cutter, so I know it's frozen solid for
Yeah,
my road
before the
trip
drive.
or my flight home if I'm, across the country or whatever. So I'm stoked. I dropped this buck. I'm like, holy crap, I'm already tagged out. This is beautiful. I pack up my stuff. This is where I accredit growing up in Vermont to making these 2 decisions I made. I looked at the steepness of this hill, and I, from being a Vermonter, I'm like, well, this is too steep. Let me slip and slide. And then I look to my right and I see a tractor path going across the bottom of the coulee. So I'm like, okay, cool, tractor path. I'll go use the tractor path. I don't think most San Diegos would pick off a tractor path. Being a Vermonter, okay. So I go down the ridge of this hill I'm on, and I get on the tractor path. Well, now I'm on this tractor path, which is probably elevated about 15 feet up above the coulee. It looked like there's probably a pond or something down here, dried up. But when I'm now on this tractor path, I'm looking up basically into a box canyon, and the wind is whipping to my back now. But I see something in front of me about 30 yards away, and I thought it was a boulder because it was gray and black, and it even had it almost looked like a little burgundy in it, so it looked like minerals off a boulder. But as a firefighter and as a captain, when I used to train new firefighters, I always used to tell them, if you see something off, trust your gut instinct. Mm-hmm. So I've said that 100 times to different probies. So I'm like, okay, something doesn't look right. There's no other boulders around here. Everything is snow covered except that boulder.
That boulder.
So I'm looking at this boulder, and I just had LASIK surgery, so my vision out that far is a little fuzzy. But I don't know if I saw hair bristle, but for some reason, and I just thought, what if that's a bear, So literally at a normal room voice, I went, hey bear. And I don't know if at that moment that bear got my wind because the wind was whipping to my back.
Yeah, up towards it.
But at that moment, that boulder stood up and bolted away from me. And it takes about a fraction of a second to recognize that it's a grizzly bear, not a black bear.
Yeah.
So it's literally as soon as he busted, I had the worst sense of fear I've ever had in my whole life because I'm alone in a canyon.
In a canyon.
With a grizzly bear and a dead deer about 60 yards away from us. And so I'm horrified and I'm angry. I was mad at myself. That was my second feeling or emotion. Number one, I was scared to death. Worst fear I ever had because alone in a canyon with a grizzly bear. But luckily he was just tractoring through the snow. He was flying. He was sprinting away from me, hauling ass through the grass and just, the powder of the snow busting in through the grass. And, for a split second, the idiot in me popped out because I started reaching for my phone like I was going to take a video of this grizzly running away. And then the smart guy in me went, hey, you're not out of danger. So I got into fight mode and I was thinking of what's my game plan? Because I had a pistol in my hand warmer right in front of me, but I had a 308 with a round racked. But anyway, the grizzly went about, 60 yards or so, and then he turned left and he started to go up the hill that I had shot the buck from. So when he went up the hill, he didn't go up the hill very high, but he went up the hill a little ways, and he was probably 80 or 90 yards away from me. But this is where it got really bad, was because at that moment, when he ran up the hill, he stopped running and he started walking, and then he stopped and he turned around. He didn't just cock his head around. He had to take a few steps to turn his entire body around. Now he's facing me, and he's uphill from me at this angle.
Uncomfortably close.
Yeah.
He can close
and
that.
Staring me down.
Yeah.
And trying to probably identify what he just smelled. So now we're staring at each other for probably 4 or 5 seconds, and I'm scared to death, literally. I'm alone. This is terrible. But when he stopped and stared at me, I kind of spoke loudly and I went, no, don't do that. Don't do that. And he kept staring at me. And then literally I'm thinking, what do I do? What can I do? And I got Randy Newberg's voice in my head, or all the people that I idolize or at least watch on TV, and I hear them all the time, watch podcasts or whatever. All the what do you do in this instance with a bear? The only thing that I had in my head was get big and make noise. So that's the only thing I can do. But I'm holding a 308 in my right hand, so I just throw my left arm over my head and I wave it in the air and I just go rah! And the bear does a oh shit face, and he turns and he takes off up and out of the canyon. Wow. And I'm like, oh my God, thank God. So as he takes off, I'm like, I'm out of here, and I start to run, and then I'm like, wait, don't run. Because another thing I've learned, or been taught, is that if you run, it can trigger their chase instinct. So I'm like, go ahead, don't run, just walk, just stay calm. I kept my eyes on him. But now with the snowstorm, I'm starting to kind of lose him, and it's like a box canyon, but he's starting to leave the canyon. Those 2 big bucks I had saw earlier too, they're bounding up the hillside away from the grizzly. So as he's going, I keep walking, but I'm watching him. And now I pass the ridge that I came down on, so now I lose sight of this grizzly bear. And now I gotta go straight uphill in deep snow for about 500 yards to get to the horse pastures, just to get through those to get to my truck. So I'm cranking up this hill, and I'm pounding up this hill, and I'm thanking myself for the hiking I do.
Sure.
So I'm like, thank God I'm fit, is what I'm thinking. So I'm just charging up this hill, and I'd go probably 30 yards and I would stop, check my 6, turn around, I'm looking, and I think at that moment too I got this sense of relief a little bit, so I kind of hit my knees, I pulled my mag out, had spare bullets, I topped my mag off, I literally worked my bolt to make sure my bolt wasn't frozen or anything. So I was in the zone. I was
still on defense.
I was still in fight mode.
Yeah.
And so I literally checked my weapon, topped my mag off. I'm ready to go, and I just kept motoring up the hill. Kept stopping every few seconds to check around for the bear in case he was circling around me or whatever. And I got to the horse pasture. Now I got to pass through 2 horse gates with like a little screw in the thing. I got to take this Chinese puzzle to get through the thing. So take the thing, open the thing, lower the gate, and get through. I got to do that twice. So eventually I get to my truck. No grizzly bear. I get to my truck. I get in my truck, and I'm finally like, oh my God, I'm safe.
Yeah, take a breath.
And I throw my shit off and throw it on the seat. And I'm like, okay, my God, I can't believe it. Like, I'm angry with myself for putting myself in that situation. Plus, the funny part is the year before, I had bought a .44 pistol for bear protection. And in all the logistics of this hunt, because I before I went on this hunt, I took my son hunting in Utah. And so I had a lot of logistics. So for some reason, I left that .44 in my gun safe in San Diego. So I only had my .40 cal that I carry like when I go on road trips. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, what a fool. So anyway, I get in my truck, I drive back to the house that we're staying at, and I think, okay, well, I'm just gonna go back to camp. It's only 7:30 in the morning at this point. I'm gonna go back to camp, I'll wait for the guys to get back from their hunt. Okay. And as soon as we all get together, we'll all go back and we'll get my deer. Mm. Well, when I get back to the house, I drive in the driveway and I count 1, 2, 3 pickups. I'm like, what the hell?
They never left.
Did everybody tag out already?
Yeah.
So I go in the house, and one of my buddies is like, hey, did you get one? I'm like, I'll be in a second. I'll tell you the story. Well, I walk in the house. These dudes are down in the basement shooting pool. In their camo. They're shooting pool. I walked in like, what the hell are you guys doing?
We went hunting today.
What are you doing? And they're like, oh, dude, it's a storm and visibility and sideways wind. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I was just in it.
Yeah.
Like, you guys, they're like, why, what? Did you get one? I go, dude, I got a buck on the ground and I bumped a grizzly bear at about 30 yards. They're like, no shit, no way. I said, yeah, get your stuff on. Yeah. We got to go get my buck. So we took 2 trucks and we went back. My buddy Dennis's father was like a Green Beret in Vietnam, sniper, or whatever. So we had Dennis Sr. up on the top of the hill with his rifle, doing bear watch, and we got down to the buck and gutted the buck out and then dragged it out of there and recovered the deer. But man, I said after that, that's it, man. We are not hunting solo anymore. We're hunting in pairs from now on because it was crazy. Like I said, wheat country.
Yeah, you're not expecting
I had no idea. I expected it to be in
your
the woods.
Situation awareness is down a little bit.
Yeah. So a lot of lessons learned and some good takeaways from that,
What was like, maybe the main, if you can give a top 3 takeaways you learned that you could pass on to, a hunter listening, what would those be, would you say?
So the number 1 takeaway, in my opinion, from my experience was do your homework and know. When my buddy told me, hey, we're going hunting in Montana, it's an hour west of Great Falls. Number 1, I should have taken the time to look at that area and find out, is that grizzly country? Because I would sound like a fool, but of course it is. This is Montana. This is the grizzly state. So, yeah, there's, take your time to research the area that you're going in. Even if you're going to Utah, are there cats there? Are there bears there? Like when the first time we went up to the Utah spot we hunt in, we saw a game warden. We asked him, do we need to carry bear spray or a pistol or whatever? He goes, I've been up here 25 years. I've never seen a bear up here. Like, okay, cool. But I should have done my research. That's number 1. Number 2 is when you get that information and you know that you're in bear country, be prepared. We were at Shields days before walking around, and I even saw an end display of bear spray. And I'm like, I'm good. I didn't do my research. I didn't know I was in bear country or grizzly country. So I didn't even buy bear spray, which, I should have had. So have a plan. If you're gonna pack some self-protection, whether it's a pistol or bear spray, have it on you, and then practice whatever your plan is. I do it with firefighters all the time, like bailing out of a structure. Like I'd say, hey, what's your plan? Well, I'm gonna do a body wrap with my rope bag. Okay, cool, let's go practice your plan, get good at your plan. Same thing applies to that. Was if my plan was to buy a .44, pack a .44, okay, is your gear set up right? Do you have a accessible spot to put your weapon? Have you practiced pulling the weapon out? Have you practiced firing the weapon? Do you have the right ammunition for your weapon? Because if I'd have gone on that, I mean, we were even looking at 230 grain buffalo bore ammo at this other store that I was like, oh yeah, this would be perfect for, you know, my pistol, which I didn't bring, you know. So practice your plan. And then I guess the other takeaway really is, you know, when that gentleman at the house that we were staying at told us that, you know, I got a grizzly bear in my thing, right then we shouldn't have treated that like it was just a passing little joke.
Right.
We should have said,
like,
wait a
like
minute.
the same equivalence of the toilet and the dryer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
We should have said, well, hang on. This dude's saying there's grizzly bears around here.
Yeah.
We should probably hunt in pairs.
Yeah.
This is
Change your
Yeah.
your tactic
So
there.
those are the big ones. You know what's funny is a couple days later, because I was pretty, you know, I'll say it, I was like traumatized from that experience, but I kept hunting. But still, I kept rerunning that situation.
Every
in
little
my
twitch,
head.
every little thing is now a grizzly. And,
Yeah,
you know.
and you're now like, you know, you're thinking about it. Even going out, I'm going to go out to my truck. And like, well,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. So,
be on alert because the guy said that the bear was right around his place. So when we went there and he told us that, we should have said, hey, look, we're hunting in pairs. You know,
Yeah.
the guy mentioned it. Let's hunt in pairs. This is foolish.
yeah, the time to come up with your plan is not
Yeah.
in the stress of the situation.
Yeah, because to me, like, I love to hunt and I love to get my own meat, and you know, that's wonderful. But I'm not, you know, I don't want to put myself in that kind of a situation where I'm going to get tore up or worse
Yeah.
just to go hunt.
Yeah, right.
You know?
And
I'm sorry, I got off track. I was going to tell you that about practicing your plan. I had packed my 40 cal pistol in my hand warmer because I have one of these camo hand warmers that I strap on like a quarterback has.
football
Yeah,
players.
so I use lightweight liners like Sitka gloves because I have a hand warmer and I keep the little heat hand
Hot hands.
hot hands.
My
I keep
favorite.
those in there, so I squeeze those or whatever. But I had to put my pistol in there. So anyways, a couple days later, and I'm still thinking about this. I thought to myself, I'm standing at this house alone, nobody's around. I thought, you know what? I wonder how quickly I could even get that pistol out and get a shot off. So I said, yeah, well, shit, why not?
Practice.
So I said, go. And it took me a few seconds to get in there and pull the pistol out. And then I racked around. I just aimed at, like, in this little field, and I click. Went, oh shit, what the hell? That magazine takes 10 rounds. And I knew that magazine didn't like 10 rounds, 9 rounds, because when I put 10 rounds in there, this tension on that mag kicks it out a smidge. And I know you're supposed to smack and rack. Well, I didn't. I pulled it out and I racked and I clicked.
Imagine
And I
that.
was, now I'm equally horrified that if I mean, I was going to fight with the 308. That was
Sure.
my plan. But if I'd had to pull my pistol out,
And that was the result.
that would have been, that could have been
Yeah,
lights out.
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
I got angry, so I smacked and racked, and pow, it went off.
Right.
So that just proved, like, even though I thought I had a game plan, you had better practice your game plan.
Yeah.
To
Because you'll go
truly
back
be
under
prepared.
stress. You'll go back to it
Yeah,
if it's practiced enough.
exactly.
just like archery
But
should
If
be.
it's
Yeah.
not practiced, it's going to be
Yeah.
chaos.
And I was under under the weapon was
Right.
too small.
Undersized for that.
40 cal.
Right.
I mean, I don't know of any bear gun research that I've ever done that suggests you take a 40 cal.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I know like a 10 millimeter or a 44 is like minimum, maybe a 357. But so yeah, do your research because it was not a good feeling. I was thinking about my wife and kids, and I even called my wife. Hey, I got to tell you, I had a grizzly. Chuck,
Yeah.
you gotta carry a gun. And today I had two
I had
guns.
to.
I had a 308 and a
Yeah.
40.
Yeah.
But she's like, what about your 44? I'm like, yeah, it's at home in the gun safe. She got angry.
I
you
bet
know?
she was not happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was the big takeaways.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, grizzly country is
Do your
different.
homework.
Like I said, I've only hunted it one time, but when one day we were hiking up, we knew they were there, so we had done the research and were carrying bear spray in our bows. And like I said, we were going super deep. There's very fresh snow this day. It's like actively snowing. It's probably that deep. We get way out, pretty much to the furthest point, and we're gonna like hunt a loop back. and we came across fresh grizzly tracks in the snow, and yeah, it was a weird feeling. It really was, and they were so big that my dad has size 14 boots, and they fit inside of the track.
Wow.
You know,
That's
and we're like at that point just like, you know, because these tracks are within the last hour for sure.
Wow.
So check this out. A couple of days after my experience, the first morning, was probably like 3 or 4 days later. We were hunting in pairs, so my buddy Dennis and I, we roll out, we're going to go hunt this spot. And as we're driving down this road, and it's all snow covered, I see a trail of tracks coming across this wheat field onto the road. And now, so they're coming across the field, now they're going straight down the road, and I go, whoa, 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 what do we got here? So I put it in park, we jump out, look at it, it's grizzly tracks. And they were small tracks, maybe the size of my foot, but that wasn't that bear. That bear was humongous.
Wow.
So now this is a second, different bear. But those tracks were coming out of nowhere across a giant wheat field onto the road, and then they went out, continued out to the wheat field, heading right towards the ranch that we were staying at. So
Yeah,
They were there.
Point.
I mean, they were there.
Yeah.
I had
And
no idea.
you know, I think the preparation part's key, like for hunting safety, whether that's for, you know, like you talked about with Scott, knowing some basic skills on how to not get lost or prevent getting lost, learning Onyx, having a backup GPS, also a compass, things like this to mitigate any sort of problem. But when we went bison hunting, several people told me ahead of time, hey, you know, it's very possible when you go shoot a bison that they're gonna charge you afterwards. And these are 2,000-pound animals. So we're like, okay, we need a plan in case. I mean, we're hunting with a bow, we're gonna be in tight. What are we gonna do if they do charge us? Because if they hit us at a full sprint, that's probably it for us.
Oh,
you know, we're probably done for.
Yeah, even a horse.
So our plan was, we did some research, talked to some people. They said, all right, here's what you do. It's not fun, but it's the way to do it. They said you stand there as long as possible, and then last minute you run out of the way. And the whole herd, they can't adjust fast enough, and they should breeze by.
Oh, wow.
So when we're in there and Taylor shoots the first arrow, and it turns, and then he shoots the second one, there was still 30 bison right next to us. So we were like, you know, watching them, and thankfully they all grouped up and ran away. But we were ready in case they did come towards us to get out of the way and try the plan. It may not have worked, but you know, we were going to give it a rip.
At least you thought about it.
Yeah, and to your point, I think that's important. And you know, this year in Utah, we did not necessarily do that. We were hunting one day, and not that I mean, I know there's cats there, but we were planning to see one the one day where
I don't think you ever.
Brianna's,
that's the thing, is you're not planning to see them, and it's like, but you need to plan that you could see them. So I felt
that you're gonna.
And the funny part about this scenario is, we had just almost shot this raghorn bull. It almost worked. I almost shot him. Then she almost shot him. It didn't work for me. We almost got an opportunity, and it wasn't more than.
The blood's already pumping.
We're excited, you know, amped up because we just were 30 yards from his bull. And then, you know, we're working this, kind of like you said, an old logging road type thing, but it's covered with dead fallen branches. And come around this corner, and she's about 3 yards behind me. And I come around, and there's this big, like, pine probably that was down across this road. So I, like, look at the pine, and then my eyes just, like, gradually go up. And, I mean, right on the same trail as me, walking towards me 20 yards, big-ass cat head, you know, just like this looking at me, you know.
I mean, they genuinely
20
look like
yards.
A lion.
Yeah.
That's
20
why they're called a mountain lion.
Well, they are a lion. You
Yeah.
know, it's probably, you know, 150-pound cat.
Yeah.
So I do what any, you know, smart, prepared person does. I go for the camera. You know.
Yeah.
While his girlfriend is 3 yards to his right,
You're protecting
and I
him.
go
Yeah.
and pull the arrow out at me. As soon as he looks at me and he goes, "Mountain lion," I immediately reach for the arrow and get it in.
She had never seen
And he
one.
pulls his phone out, and I'm
No,
just
not
like,
my phone. I went for the
"Oh,
actual
sorry, for the camera, yeah."
Got a video.
And
Yeah.
I was kind of bummed because, here's the thing. So I've seen probably 8 mountain lions in the wild, which is more than most people. They're very rare to see, so I've been blessed to see quite a few in the wild. But this was very close, and also we're facing each other on, this way.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting. It was like a little bit different than the feeling you had with the bear. Granted, bears, I think, generally going to be more aggressive than a cat. But I had this weird moment where I was like, I've had it a few times in my hunting career where I felt this weird connection with the animal. I was looking at him, and he was looking at me for like 30 seconds before she caught up with me. And this cat are just looking at each other dead in the eye, and I had this weird feeling. I was like, I just feel like he's looking at me like, holy shit, that's a human.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at him going, holy shit, that's a cat. But I felt like there was a weird appreciation. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as I went for the camera,
on your side,
he turned and ran. So I got her. I think it was
he gave you his good side.
I got her leaving, but I would have loved to get the footage of it just standing there.
Yeah.
Like, this head was the size of a basketball.
See, which is why it was so funny and foolish of me to even think for a split second
to go for the
reach
phone.
for my phone to shoot a video of this grizzly.
Yeah. I probably shouldn't have done that, but
no.
And then the crazy part is, here's the wildest part. The cat runs away down the logging road, and I watch it go out of sight, and I go, all right, Brianna, here's the deal. That cat went the exact direction we have to go. It's also the direction we're going to hunt, but it's also how we get home. We're a long ways from camp, so we're going to follow exactly where that cat went. Mm-hmm. He went out of sight right there. So we got to be pretty careful, because when we get there,
did all the things that you just told us not to do.
No, but I had a plan though. I said we're gonna follow him, but when we get there, be very alert for any sort of movement.
Yeah.
And we're going. Now we're like right where I last saw him, and all of a sudden, I mean, like from me to 3 yards away, I see something flinch in the bushes, and I go, oh boy, this could be pretty bad. I'm thinking it's the cat.
Too close.
Ends up being a porcupine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And
then as soon as we see this, so now we're scared because we just saw the little bull, then the cat, then the porcupine.
So then it just got better though, because we stopped. Obviously, I mean, I'd never seen a porcupine before, so I did think it was super cool. So obviously, I want to look at it, but he, wants to, such as to get the footage. So he's like, all right, I'm gonna film this porcupine real quick. You just keep scanning. I'm like, okay, yeah. So me, the average hunter with the slow bow and, not good eyeballs, and you over there with the eagle eyes are going to film the porcupine while I look for the 150-pound cat. Yeah. It was just not a good scenario to be in. So we didn't make it. While he's filming the porcupine, 3 grouse flew out of the tree probably like 50 yards from us.
They're super loud.
They're so loud.
Flinching in.
It's at this point, it was like 7:30, 7:45, so it's already dusk, sun's set. And so after those grouse went off, I looked at him and was like, I do not want to be here when it's dark. And he goes, it'll be okay. Oh my God.
You got no choice.
I didn't make it more than 100 yards after that. No joke. We unfortunately, this was just not the best route we ended up taking, but we're kind of like working this ledge, and it was one that had been run down by a lot of these underground little rivers,
tons of
creeks that pop out, and so there's deadfall across it, down it, so you're like climbing over a log, down a finger, up a finger, down a finger, up a finger. So we get to the first one, and he stops to take my bow so I could climb over this tree, and as he takes the bow, I just said, you go that way, I gotta go this way. I was like, I got shit. It literally scared the actual shit out of me. After 4 straight attempts of the raghorn, the mountain lion, the porcupine, and then the grouse, my body had it with anxiety. I was done. I was like, I felt like underprepared after that.
Yeah.
That last
feeling
evening.
For me didn't set in for a day or two, but that night, that first night in camp, I didn't sleep good. I was rerunning that thing through my head the whole time. Mm-hmm. But I was impressed when I did encounter that grizzly bear. At least I didn't shit myself. I didn't shake.
I got close.
I literally had that fear for about 3 seconds, but then I immediately went into fight mode, and I had my clear plan. I had my gun ready. I'm gonna get back, sit on my back heel. I'm gonna aim right for the face. I'm gonna, because I know I got to be deliberate with that bolt action. I'm going to rack a second round, and try to get a second shot. You know, so at least thinking clearly.
Yeah, that's why I'm proud that I at least drew the arrow, not the phone.
No, that's a good move.
Yeah, you know, and it's
That's
like
all you got.
I'm going for the Sony. She grabbing the arrow. Yeah.
Right.
I was like, I'm not gonna have time to range, but if it starts running, I'm just gonna put an arrow at it and, and let it go.
All you can. It's the only weapon you got on you.
Yeah.
This is a good conversation, I think, because one thing I've learned hunting for so long, especially in rugged country, is hunting is just any outdoor activity, not even just hunting, is inherently has some danger or some risk, whether you're rock climbing or mountain biking or dirt biking or hiking. Like anything could have its risks. And hunting, the 2 closest times I ever got to getting my time card punched out hunting, both times I almost got struck by lightning twice. And that is a wild experience. So
and there's no prep for that.
Yeah, how are you going to prep for that?
There's some situational awareness or not being exposed, but
storms roll in.
Yeah, you could just be
quick.
And the thing is, like, a lot of guys will like not hunt or go. They won't hunt if there's rain or a storm, and I just am not that way. I'm going to be out there. So the first time it was my dad and I hunting together. A storm rolled in, and we're hiking up this hill, and it's a wild feeling because we're walking and then all of a sudden it's like the loudest flash bang you've ever heard, but your body automatically reacts. We both of us were like like this, just without even thinking, and we're like, that sucker had to be right on us, this lightning bolt. We walked up the hill another 100 yards, there's a tree blown up smoking. 100 yards, right? And then up in Utah, the spot we were at last year, a couple years later, I'm hunting by myself. Storm rolls in. I'm hiking up this steep hill, and I'm at the bottom. Same thing, bang, and like I'm just like, man, imagine if you're out there and it's 100 yards closer. But what I learned is, even with that much energy hitting the ground that close to you, it's very bizarre because your energy level will be really good, and then you have this like insane spike of adrenaline, and you're beat tired. Beat tired. And I don't know if that's because the adrenaline, I also weirdly think I think you do catch some of the like electricity maybe or something, but you feel different. It's very odd.
Or you just go into like that fight, flight or fight response, and then you're just, the rebound of that is just exhaustion.
But look at that. We're talking about hunting, and we've talked about us getting really close to a cat that could mess up your day super, super quick. You and a bear, the lightning twice, getting lost. These are several stories, all that are really poor situations to be in, and they're not avoidable. Like if you're going to hunt enough
to them.
Well, wasn't my first bear experience either. We went in Pagosa Springs, Colorado, up in the Wiminuche forest, and my buddy Ben were hunting, and we knew we had seen bears on the drive going up there, so we knew there was a lot of black bears around there. But we were hunting one time, and we got in this area where we smelled like a rotted animal. Like, there's a kill around here. This stinks. Like, it got disgusting, and we kept going on the same course. And as we were going further, it just kept getting ranker and ranker, and then Ben's about 8 or 10 yards in front of me, and I look up about 70 yards up this hillside, and I see a giant black bear walking from right to left across the ridge, and I say, Ben, and he's not hearing me. So I finally have to go, Ben, and he turns and goes, what? I go, look at that massive black bear. So he went, holy shit, and he came to me. He said, what do you want to do? I go, what do I want to do? I'll go that way. Get out of here. And even though it's a black bear, I don't know if we should be less worried about a black bear, but I didn't care. This was the first
around
time.
A kill potentially, or
and it stunk. So I'm thinking there's food here for that bear. We're in his kitchen. We need to get out of here. We're in the wrong house right now, so let's go that way, because that's probably a good idea. So we just walked. But that night, because we had killed some deer, and the cowboy had picked them up, and but we butchered 2 deer in camp, and so we had blood on the ground from where we butchered those deer. Even though a buddy of mine, we had packed up the deer carcasses, and we put them on a packer, and we walked them at least 1.5 miles from camp to dump them out in the woods. So we got rid of as best we could, but there was still
there.
a scent
And
of
still,
deer.
of
course.
And we had all the deer meat bagged up on the ground next to camp. That's what it was. The cowboy was coming the next day at noon to pick up that deer meat. And so that night we're laying in a wall tent, 4 of us, and it's probably middle of the night, 3 o'clock or whatever, and I wake up to I can hear a bear growling right outside. I mean, of this canvas wall, probably 15 feet from me. So I pop up out of bed. I go, "Bear in the camp! Bear in the camp!" So we all wake up. We all start shouting, "Hey, get out of here!" And we never hear the bear again. But still, even a black bear encounter, I respect the hell out of that, and I just turned and went the opposite
definitely.
direction.
Yeah.
Got me playing.
I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, but I've actually heard that you're more likely to get attacked by a black bear. I don't know if it's because there's more of them, but I've heard they're more likely to just attack something recreationally than like a grizzly bear is.
Interesting.
They're more like protection based from what I've heard. So I don't know.
I don't know if
this
they're
is
like.
I've rabbit holed on this topic a lot.
true. Is that true?
Well, I don't know if that necessarily is accurate, but I mean, you could have several different people say several different perspectives or opinions on it, but I've been told that if you got attacked by a grizzly bear, for example, your best thing to do is to lay down and just
Lay face
curl up,
first, or
let
be loud for
it
the
knock
black
you
bear,
around,
and-
hope it doesn't kill you, and once it feels like it's
Not threatened by
solved the threat, it might leave you. But I've heard that if you get attacked by a black bear, you have to fight for your life, because a black bear will intend to eat you, and that might be the reason why it's attacking you. So that's just what I've
Yes.
seen in my experience in rabbit holing on this topic.
Yeah.
And I saw that video recently of that hiker who was like a rock climber or something, and there's a black bear coming up the
came at
cliffside.
him.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. That's a
It came
crazy
down from the
video.
top, and he
Right.
somehow
And then
moved
came
and
back
it
up
fell
at-
down
yeah.
on the thing. But that thing was persistently
Yeah.
coming after him to get him.
Yeah, that wasn't
And
defensive.
he was
That
kicking.
was
He didn't lay down and curl up. He fought and fought and fought, and
Right.
eventually the black bear just said, "Okay, I'm out of here," and he took off.
yeah.
So that's what I know. Also, that hunter that got attacked by a grizzly sow. She had 2 cubs, and he beat the heck out of them.
Mm.
And then he curled up. He had a pistol that he couldn't reach, but he curled up. She gave him the business, and then she left him, joined up with her cubs, and took off. Well, on the trail that he was leaving on, he didn't know this, but she was on another course, and they
that came back
eventually.
again?
Oh,
And so he, in just going back to his truck to get out of the woods, he came upon
Second
the sow a
encounter.
second time. And so she did the same thing again.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
And she attacked him
Terrible.
again. And he did the same thing that time. He curled up again. I think on the second occasion, his pistol got knocked off of his chest holster, out of reach. But he curled up. She worked him real bad.
Jeez.
And it's an amazing story, great video that he posted, because he
I'll have to watch that.
narrated the story on video right after it happened, and he got beat up bad by it. But
Wow.
that's what I've come to learn.
You
like,
seen the video of that
Black bear
mountain
fight for your
biker?
life.
That mountain biker doing the switchbacks, and then the black bear is running down the hill, not even worried about the path. It's like charging
yeah,
through the
just
brush. You
comes
seen
through the
that?
woods.
Chasing
I
at,
think
just
so.
chasing after the guy
Yeah.
on the downhill
See,
bike.
it's so
Yeah.
wild though, because
I
like
know.
it makes me wonder. Like I have not gone down the rabbit hole, but like being from Florida, we have an enormous. I mean, I would call them a nuisance, whether the state allows you to hunt them or not. A nuisance number of black bear
Really?
in the state.
I never knew that.
But-
about Florida.
So many, and it's different because like I just wonder if maybe their temperament is different. Like black bear out here in the woods versus black bear in Florida.
Yeah.
Like I almost find them a more just like curious bear.
Maybe resources are
Yeah,
more
and,
prevalent
like-
for them there. Their
Like
life
I almost
is
don't picture
easier.
them being meat eaters in Florida. Like I picture them like what we see
Or
half the time.
herbivores
You'll
or-
see them all the time from your tree
Yeah.
stand eating berries. Like that's their number one
Yeah.
food source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I have had them sitting my tree, I'll come off like the dirt road, follow a trail into my tree stand. So I've watched them turn off the road, follow my scent all the way down the trail up to the bottom of my. I've luckily never had them do like you
Oh,
see
yeah.
the videos climb my
Yeah, they
tree.
climb the trees.
But I've had them come all the way up to the bottom of my tree, sniff me out, and then
Okay.
continue on. But it's like they just seem, when I see them, curious little bears. Now
Yeah.
they're not near as big black bears as
Yeah.
you guys probably have out here, but they're not like when you see them, they don't remind you of like
They're
an
not in
animal
fear
that's gonna
necessarily.
murder me.
Well, I think
Yeah.
because they're so prevalent, there's a complacency with
Mhm.
most people, whatever region you're in.
Yeah.
You know, I know there's a mass amount of complacency in the Sierras. When we
Mhm.
went to Colorado, in the
Big
hotel in Pagosa Springs, they were telling us, "Hey, stay inside because there's a black bear out in the dumpster outside." In Vermont, like my mom lived 2 miles out on a dirt road, and we used to hunt this big knob behind her house, and there was bear scat all over the place up there. We had a bear getting into her woodshed to get after her trash. But even though we know there's a lot of black bears around, we didn't consider bear spray or packing a pistol. So I think there's just this
Complacency,
knowledge
right.
that's passed down about black bears not being much of a safety concern in some regards, especially like when you're hunting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Northern New England, those states, there's a lot of black bears in those states, and they're so prevalent, I guess, that like when you buy a hunting license in Vermont, you get a turkey tag, a buck tag, and a black bear tag on the same hunt license. So, but I've never seen bears in the woods. But my brother at the farm in Vermont, he's got a black bear this season. But even those, I never think about like, well, I better bring some bear defense for a black bear.
What was that
But
story of
grizzly
Prescott,
country,
I think, right? The guy was
different.
drug off his porch.
By a black bear?
By a black bear.
Wow.
And, yeah.
Damn.
And he was sitting on his porch and, in Prescott, out in a bit of the timber.
Yeah.
And just, so that seems like an active hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you rifle hunt and do archery.
Yeah.
You did rifle first, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I grew up rifle hunting, and I never, I joined the Navy right after high school, then I stayed out in San Diego for college, and then, so I just kind of got away from hunting for a while.
Okay.
Until I went back to Vermont and started a career in the fire service when I was 25, and then the guys that I worked with hunted, so I started rifle hunting with them. But my brother bow hunted. I didn't buy my first bow until I was in my early 40s.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you have a preference, having done both? Because you're probably the only one of us that actively does both.
I gotta say, I got infatuated with archery. It came at a time when I was looking, I played ice hockey for like 35 years, and I was looking to kind of get done with hockey. I was getting a little older. I was starting to get injuries that I never used to get when I was younger. So I started thinking about archery. I finally broke down and bought a compound bow, and I started getting so into archery that it gave me a reason to finally hang up my skates and stop playing ice hockey. So for the first, I've only been into it now for like maybe 8 years, but I absolutely love bow hunting. I'm infatuated with like Native American history as well.
Oh,
So
sure.
there's something primitive about it, even though I'm hunting with a modern compound bow.
Yeah, but
There's
relatively.
still the history of archery and bow hunting with human beings. That's just something primitive. That's exciting.
The intimacy of that experience.
And then I think, certainly you can reach out and touch them with a rifle, but it's funny that people that, like when you tell them you hunt, they're like, wait, do you gun hunt or do you bow hunt? Like, well, I bow hunt. They're like, oh, see, I respect that, but I don't respect people who gun hunt. Because gun hunting's too easy. You just sit back and shoot them from a distance.
It's being either.
Pick one up and go out and try that.
It's
not quite that easy.
Bring me back some.
Yeah. And bow hunting can be easy.
That were the case, everyone
I
would
shot
pick
a
up a
deer
rifle.
from camp in my Crocs once.
you never know.
You can have.
You've also almost got attacked by a grizzly trying to rifle hunt. So
and
there's
with
an
a
extreme.
rifle. So but I don't necessarily have a preference. Honestly, I like shooting rifles. I like, having a nice scope.
Mm-hmm.
I like, the main thing I like is the fact that I eat wild game meat all the time. I've been fortunate. I haven't literally bought beef in at least 5 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And my wife and kids love game meat. So I'm so grateful that they love game meat. That gives me the reason I get to keep hunting. Because I know a lot of guys, especially like in Vermont, there's a lot of guys whose wives hate venison. They don't even want to smell it. My wife loves it. She loves game meat, elk meat, deer meat, and my kids loved it too.
So you're not getting a hard time when you go.
No, as a matter of fact, my wife, she's the same way if I go fishing, She'll say, I used to go fly fishing a lot in Vermont, and I brought home some native brown trout one time, and after she had good native
fish.
Vermont fish, she was like, well, every time I go fly fish, she'd say, don't come back till you catch some fish. So it's the same thing. She wants me to go hunt because she wants that freezer full of wild game meat, which is unbelievable. So if it takes a muzzleloader, a rifle, or a bow to get that accomplished, I'm all in.
by any means.
Yeah.
You're also unique, and I think that you have probably 4 bows, like a weekend bow, a target bow, a 3-day shoot bow.
I got a
think
problem.
you have a lot of
dude.
things,
I have a
right?
problem. Yeah.
None of us, and I only do it because James only has
Yeah.
one bow that he shoots for hunting and target, so that's just what I learned to do, and
Yeah.
Bree had the same, I think.
Yeah.
So you do, how many bows actually do you have?
I got 3 bows now, but
You actively shoot all 3?
Yep.
And
Yep.
is
I
that
got
a problem? Or do you think, like, going
Well,
between them, do you
I
have to
only have-
relearn that one each
I only
time?
have 3 bows because one of the bows, the brand new bow that I had, I was gonna barter that away to a buddy of mine who's gonna do some carpentry for me.
Oh, right.
So when we made that deal, I went out and I bought another bow to
Oh,
replace
that's
it because
right,
I knew
yeah.
I was gonna get rid of it. And then I bought a Matthews Verdix off of eBay because I was like, I really love that bow and I heard great things about it. So I just wanted to have that as my backup bow.
Uh-huh.
And then when my uncle passed away back in Maine, my aunt, I went back for his funeral. My aunt said, "Hey, your papa's bow is hanging in
That's
the
cool.
garage. Do you want to take it? It's just gonna sit there."
Yeah.
So I have his bow, and now that's like one of my goals is to take his bow and
get
shoot
something.
a deer with
Yeah,
his bow
that's
because
cool.
it's still got his old Easton aluminum arrows with the broadheads that he
That's
put
cool.
on it. And one of my goals is to shoot a deer with his bow. So I technically have 4 compound bows, and I have I got a stick and string bow that I bought just for fun,
Oh, nice.
which I've shot a few times. But I like it. What's funny is I bought my first bow, which is a PSE Brute. It was a good bow. I killed a deer with it. Killed my first deer with a bow with it. I was stoked. And then I just felt like I was ready to go top shelf because I have a good job.
Buy nicer,
and I
buy
wanted to
twice,
go-
baby.
Yeah,
That's
so
my
I
motto.
bought a Matthews, and I loved that bow. And then honestly, I think when I replaced that bow, I think I went through a phase of trying to get back to that bow because I shot that bow so well, that Halon. I was so good with that bow. I think I bought a bow and then sold that bow and bought another bow and sold that
Trying to
bow.
get that feeling.
Trying to get back to that, and I don't know if I'll ever get back to that comfort. So now I've kind of said, okay, I'm done. I'm just gonna sit on this bow and
Right.
just master this bow.
What's your thought? Like, you
I went through a
only
phase.
shoot that one bow.
Mm.
Is that just so you're practicing at targets and 3Ds are the same you're hunting and it's all the same? Is that kind of the thought process for you?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like I feel 3D shoots are fun, but I think the main reason I do them is so I am just shooting more, and I know that if I shoot more, I'll at least stay the same or get better.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm not shooting, I think I could decline and get worse and less consistent. And by shooting one bow with the same arrow, the same sight, none of it changes for the
Everything.
3D shoots or the hunts, then it's like, okay, well, I've shot 2,000 arrows this year. I should be pretty good for the one on this hunt
Yeah.
if I get an opportunity.
And you already
So
do
that's
well
kind of
on
the thought
targets,
process.
and
Yeah.
3D targets anyways. Like, sure, could you squeak out a few more points with a target bow with a sight and that kind of stuff and magnification and better?
Yeah.
Sure, maybe.
Yeah.
For
But
me, it's
that's
all-
not the goal.
For
is
me
to
too,
win.
it's also kind of like the dude who's got his grocery getter vehicle. Then he's got his truck.
Toy vehicle.
But then he's got his 70s classic car
Sure.
that he
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
to drive around once in a
Yeah.
while.
You got options.
That's how
It's
I
like
feel.
an upstairs
with-
bathroom and a downstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you
No.
though. If you had one piece of equipment and you just trained on it all the time, you're going to master that piece of equipment. But I'm kind of infatuated, and I'd like to try out this new PSE that came out, and then I go to this other Matthews, and then. But I mean, geez, right now I've sold like a half a dozen dudes on our fire department, bows, and
Yeah.
they think I'm set up with good bows because I just kind of gone through them. So. It's definitely been in the last 3 years or so. You guys have seen me cycle through a bunch of bows, at
It's
least
cool,
a half a
though.
dozen
Yeah.
bows.
I do think, though, recently I've been playing around a little with target bows, like Buddy's target setups. And I will say that, like, shooting a target bow versus my hunting bow is almost 2 different things. So I think that if I do try to do target for a while, which I may do because I think that would be a good personal challenge as well as create some good videos.
Yeah.
I think that it would be fairly easy to differentiate than if I shot this bow in a different hunting bow that was real similar.
Yeah.
These will not feel similar at all. Like,
No.
other than the grip and the draw length,
Yeah.
poundage is going to be different. The let-off's going to be different. The magnification, the weight of the bow is significantly different.
It won't hurt
The
you
arrow,
in any way.
I don't
To
think
do
so.
both. Yeah.
I think it'll be very much two different lanes, sort of.
There's a reason why you have a toolbox. There's a reason why you
Yeah,
have a
that's a good
rack
point.
of knives.
Right.
That this knife
The right
is for
tool
this
for
and
the
that.
right.
But dude,
has its
I
purpose.
hope you do that, James.
Yeah, he's been trying to get me to do a target forever.
Because I recognize the fact that, and I think you know this, but you have a lot of talent, man. You are an
Appreciate that.
unbelievable archer, and it's proven every single time we shoot,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
The dude is just consistent. You are. I mean, but I'm envious in the fact that you've been shooting the bow since you were in diapers.
That's
I love
why.
hearing your dad tell those
Mhm.
stories. So I say it out of a curiosity because I enjoy doing tournaments. Like I said, I played ice hockey tournaments for so many years that I have a competitive nature. I enjoy getting in like the big game moment. That's why I want to go out and do those shoots like the State 3D and all that. I want to do those to see where I am, see how I stack up. And I know where you would stack up. We have some pretty awesome local shooters, at least a handful of dudes that shoot freestyle. And the times when you've beat them with your bow hunting, remember there was one dude, we did a 3D shoot one weekend at Balboa, and James' score he turned in was better than this dude's, and the
that's
guy
what he
himself
does.
said, man, I can't believe this bow hunter beat me.
Yeah.
This guy's one of the best local freestyle shooters, and James beat him in a
On a
recreational
casual,
shoot
yeah.
with his bow hunting bow.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was saying,
Yeah.
dude, can you imagine the potential that you would have? I would love to see you because I know you come from like the bike.
Yeah,
You're like pro rider or
Yeah.
whatever. So I know you've got that in you.
for sure.
And I'll tell you, in my experience in the fire department, I've worked with a lot of dudes that played professional sports, whether it's baseball, football. I think those are the two. Motocross. So what I've even a pro snowboarder, wakeboarder. All I know that in my personal experience that with professional athletes, and you were there in that level in your BMX, there's something special athletically about people who are professional athletes. They are not run-of-the-mill. They are next level. So that's what I'm saying. Like I see the potential in you as an archer. I mean, look what you did today. The last 17 targets were all 10s.
Yeah.
That's not like
It's great.
that's,
Yeah, I went down to
most
like
people
18.
cannot do that.
No, yeah.
So
yeah.
I would love to see you unlock it, and even if you stayed in bow hunter freestyle, or you went straight up freestyle with a target bow or whatever, I'm curious to see how freaking amazing you could
Yeah.
be. You know,
Well,
that's why I always been pushing
Yeah.
you to do it.
I think
you
it's
have,
'cause
and I
that,
appreciate
like,
that.
You don't get that. You can do everything professionally, like you rode professionally. You've never shot professionally, but you do shoot at a professional level. So you just don't have that, like, I don't want to call it a competitive mindset, but like, you're just, when we go to shoots, like James always says it, like, this is for fun, because I get real annoyed when I start shooting like crap.
Right.
He's like, it's just for fun. And I think even if
Meanwhile,
you were at like
ring.
the Vegas
Ring.
shoot or
Yeah.
and
Probably
even
helps
like,
you to do that.
he would walk in there with this on.
Right.
And
Oh, I'm going
like, this
to,
would be
yeah.
his uniform.
Which helps.
And yeah,
You know,
like,
that pressure.
he doesn't get worked
isn't
up.
there.
He doesn't feel pressure.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he stays relaxed.
Yeah.
He has fun. So like,
messes up, it can bounce back
Yeah,
instead of
there's no
derail.
jersey, there's no paracord,
No,
vinyl harness.
yeah, so
I
I-
think you hand him the right bow for target
Yeah.
shooting and let him just practice for fun,
Yeah.
and it would be like
Be lights out.
crazy to walk in there and they would be like, where the hell did this dude
God,
come
you're getting
from?
fluffed. You're getting
I'm
fluffed
getting-
so
I-
good.
I know, he's gonna walk out here with an
I
ego
love
the
it.
size of
Yeah.
Mount
Well,
Everest
dude,
right
here's
now.
the other
But
thing too, is that and I know I've told you this, but because I've been a hunter for a long time, and I do archery shoots and all this stuff, I've met a lot of accomplished hunters. I've got a brother-in-law in Maine that has a game room of whitetails from like West Virginia and Maine and
Dream room.
all these hunts he's done. And he's a phenomenal hunter, and I listen to his advice. Like he tells me, Chuck, I know you like these broadheads, but dude, you gotta shoot these. I take his advice. You know, that dude is an accomplished hunter. My brother, excellent hunter. You know, I listen to them when they talk. Especially turkey. He's a
Beast
turkey hunting
yeah.
guide.
Mhm.
You know, in Vermont, he's phenomenal at turkey hunting. I mean, he's incredible. Then I met this guy named Mike. He's from Illinois. Unbelievable the amount of giant whitetails that he's killed, and it has a lot to do with the fact that he hunts Illinois. But still, he's an accomplished archery hunter, and I respect the hell out of him, dude. Between my brother-in-law in Maine, Mike from Illinois, and you are probably the you're one of the best hunters I've ever known because of your spot and stock skills. And when you started Bowdisciples, I knew it was going to be successful because of the fact that you are an accomplished hunter.
Appreciate that.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's not typical of people to be able to be so successful with a spot and stock. And you've said it a lot of times about how much you love hunting Arizona. I never even thought there were deer in Arizona.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
you find, I mean, that rack you got out there,
Yeah.
that vast wide thing, the way you can locate and actually execute a spot and stock hunt, I think you are top shelf. And I honestly
Appreciate
think that that's what leads to the success of Bowdisciples, is because you have a lot of fun videos and stuff, or like shooting bow pong or whatever.
Yeah.
But dude, when it comes down to it, like your hunt skills, you're extremely credible.
Mhm.
And I've complimented you a few times about the way when you narrate your hunting videos, you preach ethical hunting, and you talk legit, real, good hunting advice for someone of your age, because I'm significantly older than you. From someone your age, you have more hunting experience at your age than most do in a lifetime.
Yeah.
And you're legit. That's why you're so accomplished hunting wise, in my view, that I want to see what you're capable of in like competitive
Target,
archery.
yeah.
But it's literally my own thing. If you decide to never do it, I'm like, oh man, what could have
What
been?
could have been? Sure.
Dude, you're
Yeah.
that good
Everyone's
of an
gonna be in the
archer.
Vegas stands, just like it's gonna have this strange
Oh,
squad
yeah.
of people Vegas has never seen before.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
we're just
I
like a bunch of weirdos.
do appreciate it, and really the main reasons for my archery skills and my hunting skills really is from Ted, my dad, because he
you're so lucky.
got me shooting so young, taught me how to hunt for so young, and then him and we really hit this breaking point hunting in I think 2014 was our first year we really learned how to hunt. We had hunted for a long time, been successful, but we were successful on fork and horn, smaller bucks,
Sure.
which is totally cool.
Yeah.
Totally cool. But then I said, you know what, I want to start getting like big bucks every time.
Yeah.
I had to really actually learn how to hunt to do that.
Mm.
I didn't know how to hunt before. I knew how to be successful at one thing, but to be really proficient at getting large
Mature.
old animals, that is two different things.
Yes.
So I had to learn how to do that. And the cool part is everything up until that point I had only learned from my dad or Jay or some of my hunting mentors to that point. Chuck Adams, not this
No.
one.
Real Chuck Adams.
Guys on
Yeah.
Monster Bucks, like when I was a kid, I really would watch these VHS tapes every year. They'd get them for my birthday
Yeah.
and Christmas, so I'd watch
Yeah.
these tapes over and over
Yeah, I
and
remember
over.
the Monster Bucks. I used to watch that
So
all the time.
this is how I learned. But then my dad and I, we learned. I learned from him and my mentors until 2014, and then I think my dad and I started to learn how to hunt together
Right.
because we were doing new stuff. We had never owned a tripod.
Uh-huh.
Now that's my whole life is
Right.
a glass enough tripod or
Yeah.
whatever. So I think just the always trying to progress, and I think any hunter can learn from my success is not. I don't stay successful from doing the same thing. I'm always trying to learn and get better each
Yeah.
time. Because I think if you go, okay, well, I'm good enough and just stay there,
Yeah.
that's when your skills will flatten.
Yeah.
And then-
plateaued.
Yeah, and then with archery, that's a little different. Like I think that's just from tremendous amount of repetition, really. I
Yeah.
think that's about it. I'm so comfortable. It's funny because, people on YouTube will sometimes be trolls and, you punch the trigger, you do this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I would toast your ass too.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of, but it's whatever, and that doesn't bother me. But target will be fun because, like you said, can those same skills transfer to target? And I personally think they will.
Yeah.
But it'll be fun, and if anything, it'll be good videos.
Yeah.
So there's not really
Time
any.
will tell.
Yeah, time will tell.
Yeah, and see, for you hunting, your competition is yourself.
That's it.
Your persistence, your patience,
Oh.
your perseverance or whatever. But when you compete, I know that like at a certain level in ice hockey, when we were, like if I was on a team and we were really good and we were dominant, I never wanted to keep playing the same level and just keep being like, 10-0 or 6-0 in a tournament. Like, okay, if we went 6-0 in a tournament and won the tournament, like, okay, we can't do this tournament again.
You don't want to sandbag.
We have to go to the next level and see what we can do at that level. So I've always, that's my competitive nature, is to always strive to, okay, we succeeded here. Now let's move on to the next challenge. That's why I'm like calling you guys, hey, let's go do the state championship.
And I'm glad you did that.
I want to see how I stack up. Because sometimes, like, maybe it's like the time I put my bow away for a whole month. For me personally, I either need a upcoming deer tag or elk tag. That's my motivator. Or to keep me really striving to be better, I need some kind of competition. And I am self-motivated to be prepared for that, to put in the work for that, but I need that. I need that next thing. I was just looking at like the NFA website going, okay, when's the next tournament? Like, oh, April, there's this thing in Fresno I want to go do. And because I know that will be the motivator for me to keep my game as best as it can be.
Between now and then.
And it always comes back to, because when I have an elk broadside or when I have a deer quartered away, I want to make that shot. That's my motivation to be good with my bow. But I strive for that competition. You're kind of more, at least I don't know you because I didn't know you when you were the pro rider. But now you hunt. Well, I already mentioned how you hunt, but when you shoot bows, we might be out there giving it 100%, and you're beating us. You know, I think I've come close, or maybe I got you once.
I think you have one time. Yeah. I always like to real
for me,
quick.
that's like a milestone for me.
Well, I always love shooting with you too, because you are a very good shooter as well. So, and I personally like to shoot with people that can be on my ass, because then if you slip a little bit, they'll get you. That's why I like
Mackie and the attack, you know.
Yeah, Mackie or Marco Mel, local guy. I love doing shoots with him. Or my buddy Taylor that shot the bison. He's an amazing shooter, and he's the one who when I was playing around with his target bow, I was like, I got to give it a try. You know, it's just different. But I think that the goal thing you said is so important. You hear that with business guys all the time. They say their number one thing is to always have written goals on their face all the time. That's what strives them to be great business people. So I think any time you have a goal out front is important. And I will say too, another thing that I think has helped probably all of us really shoot more is the fact that we film videos, because if you didn't film videos, you might skip the 3D or you might skip this or whatever. But when you are trying to make videos, you're like, well, we might as well go do the shoot and we can make a video too. So it actually has helped to shoot more and get better by filming.
Take it seriously and want to, because you don't want to yard sale arrows on a video. That's even worse.
Sometimes those are funny, but
it happens. So you'll get it.
You just happen to catch it on film.
Right.
But the ones like you sail into your fence or whatever at home. But I'm grateful for you guys, because for you guys are always the ones that are out doing the shoots and willing to go to the shoots, and we're always texting going, hey, what about Henshaw, you want to go? Yeah, I'm in. When you and I had some local buddies that were into it in the beginning, but I don't know, they kind of faded out of it or whatever. But every time I'd hit you up, you were always, yep, I'm in. And so you, because you were so into it and willing to go even Orange County or Riverside or whatever on these trips, or TAC, like, good. I got a friend that's gonna always want to go shooting bows, and that's what I want to do. So let's keep doing it. And because of you guys being so eager and apt to go do these shoots, I shoot more. And again, it's gonna make us that much better when we have that opportunity to shoot a deer.
It actually is wild, and I think that all of this stuff we're talking about it all comes back to shooting more often. And in reality, most hunters in the United States, I think there's like 13 million hunters, and probably, I don't know, maybe half that's bow hunters, so let's say like 5, 6, 7 million, somewhere in there. Most archery hunters literally don't shoot their bow year round, pull out the bow a week before season, shoot a couple times at a block target, or I'm good to go. So and not that there's anything inherently wrong with that, but I think one of the good things that bowdisciples, as well as other YouTube channels that focus a lot on archery, is promoting shooting for fun, which makes you shoot more, which makes you shoot better, and makes you more prepared hunting, which then overall gives hunting a better look in the public eye.
For sure.
See, that's one of the things I like about the archery world is, I'll use Levi Morgan as an example. I love watching I started watching Levi Morgan, and I got to familiar with who he is because I was geeking out on archery tournaments, because I was starting to do the police and fire games and all that, doing these competitive things. So I wanted to watch more competitive archery shoots to see how those were. And so there's this guy, 7-time world champion at the time, and then I see this guy who's so extremely accomplished in archery, world champion multiple times. Now I get to watch him on these hunting shows. Whereas for you, it's more like, I know you as the hunter.
Yeah, it's reverse.
But like, you know, could you be on that side?
Yeah,
so
we'll see.
I like seeing the two, because I'm so infatuated with archery and bow hunting that I love to see the dudes like him and Chris B that were competitive and established competitive archers that, or, you know, John Dudley. You know, I had no idea. I didn't know he was an Olympian. You know what I mean? You get guys like that.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, so you get dudes like that, and you're going,
Translates.
yeah, oh my God.
Over.
And now, so when these dudes are out there talking about shot placement on a deer, it's like, well, they're not just great hunters that, you know, caught them on a hunting video.
Yeah, they're
These
tacticians
dudes
with
got 20, 30, 40 years of experience with competitive field archery too. So I respect and appreciate both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, same.
You know?
Same. And there's a lot of crossover too, between guys that hunt as well as do targets. There's a lot of crossover. Like we're about to have this guy, me and Brandon McDonald do these talks sometimes on Instagram Live. It's like another little separate podcast, but we're getting this kid on eventually. I don't know when we're going to line it up, but his name's Bodie Turner, and it's the guy on Joel Turner's son, who was on Joe Rogan, teaches about like the closed loop shooting. His son is like potentially the next best ever at archery. Just unbelievable shooter.
I think I've heard of him.
And
young teen years. And
he's like 16.
Yeah,
he's a beast.
One Vegas, I think, last year.
Unreal.
And he's a beast hunter, crazy shooter, and I want to get him on soon, and I've talked to him. He wants to do it, so we're going to do it eventually whenever it lines out. But I would love to pick someone like his brain, who's obviously just like me, learned to shoot when he was, you know, this big because of his dad, and then has his dad not only be just a shooter but a, you know, coach as well. So I'd be so curious to know, like, you know, do you only shoot with the exact principles of your dad, or is there anything you do a little different?
You learn on your own.
That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
You know, because and so many people since Joel went on Rogan have had Joel on, but no one's had his son on, and I'm like, I want to hear from his son, you know, because I think that's kind of interesting too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, archery, you got into it, I don't know, 2015, 2016. I'm sure you probably garnered a lot of extra skills just in life, just from hunting and archery too.
Yeah. No, that's kind of what we talked about. I think it was the first episode I was on, or the first.
Oh, the one with
Yeah, there's a lot of crossovers, and what you learn in archery translates to outside, and what you learn outside, those disciplines and habits cross over, you know. And so it's a beneficial hobby, skill, lifestyle, whatever degree of
recreation.
Yeah, it takes dedication and commitment, like anything else that you want to be successful at.
Yeah.
My only regret in archery is I didn't buy a bow when I was 20.
Yeah.
You know, I remember the first time I went to an archery store and I picked up a bow and I was, you know, handling it, checking it out. As a salesperson comes over, hey, you interested in buying a bow? I quickly just hung it back up because, you know, I was a young, brand new firefighter with a wife and 2 kids, and I knew I couldn't probably afford it. So I was like, oh no, some other day.
Yeah.
And I hung it up. And I'd literally visit that same archery shop like annually, it seemed, just to pick up another bow and look at it.
You're gravitating.
Hang it up.
Just not committed yet.
Are you ready yet? No, not quite. And I just, you know, I wish that I'd have done whatever it took to scrape up the money to just get into archery back when I was in my mid-20s.
Yeah. Because
I could have had 2 extra decades of bow hunting experiences and adventures, you know, because when I grew up, we did 2 weeks of rifle season in Vermont, and it's the winter, and you're freezing, and, you know, it was slim pickings on deer, and it was tough hunting. But archery season opens up a whole new world of early season hunting, long seasons, less pressure, challenging. You know, you got to really be dedicated behind the bow to
get in tight. You know, you got to get in tight, closer.
So I missed out on 2 decades worth of potential experiences, and I wish I'd have I wish I'd have gotten into it a long time ago.
No?
You know, I also think what's crazy is when you go on YouTube or Instagram sometime and you see there's two people. One guy is always doing the super wild trick shots with the recurve or the longbow, where he shoots through like rings that are
Jumping off
falling
the wall
through the thing, or like
ping pong
glancing
balls
arrows
and,
off stuff.
Moving targets.
Or the one where I think I saw one where he like shot a flying frisbee and then his arrow hit it and then you see him run and it falls in his quiver. Like just crazy stuff. And then there's the one girl that does like the flexibility where she shoots in handstands with her feet.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's nuts. Like that's a whole different thing. But
yeah, now you're taking something already extreme and just making it extra.
Or how about Tim Wells?
Tim Wells is
picking
real
off
too.
ducks.
Yeah.
What?
Out of the air.
And he doesn't even have a sight. He's an instinctive shooter with a compound like fingers.
Wild stuff.
The commitment. But there's also a degree in all these people. There's also a degree of just natural God-given talent. Of course. And I go back to that. It's you. I'm telling you, you have a natural talent. I just want to, see you nurture that.
You're gonna see it. We're gonna give it a rip. So
cool.
we'll see.
I'm looking forward to it, man, because I know what you're capable of.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on, Chuck. I think it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks.
Member number 3, Brianna, as usual. Thanks for coming on. Congratulations, Matt. Looking good with the hat. And we'll see you at episode 4. So subscribe to the pod. It's on all platforms now.
Nice.
Apple, Spotify, any of them. Even video on Spotify
or
YouTube.
Good work.
So there you go. Enjoy the show. Thank you very much. And we'll see you in the next one.
Wow, deputy.